Hello everyone and welcome to another casual review. I finally did it. I beat every game on the Megaman ZX Legacy Collection for the Nintendo Switch. So today I will be talking about Megaman ZX Advent, the final game in the series. This game actually introduces English voice acting, and quite a lot of it too. That's for the better or for the worse. Some of the voice acting kind of sounds like it's a Saturday morning cartoon, a little bit cheesy. It doesn't, sometimes it kind of takes away from the severity of the situation when you have this cheesy, cartoony voice. I kind of have this complaint about the Model A that is attached to the main character. It kind of sounds, I don't know, like I don't really like the voice of the Model A, but some of the other voice acting is actually pretty welcome addition. So you get the good with the bad. This game brings back the cool anime cutscenes that they had in Mega Man ZX. I won't be including any in this casual review because I guess when I had some in the original Mega Man ZX review, Capcom decided that I did not deserve any rights to that video anymore. So I probably won't put them in this video, but trust me, they are there. In this game, you don't play as the first main character that you played in Mega Man ZX. I told you that you could choose your gender in that one, and I chose the girl. Her name was Ale. In this one, you also choose between a boy and a girl, but it is not the same character as the first one. Although that character in ZX comes into the story later on, which I thought was pretty nice. I ended up choosing the boy, which is named Gray, and I think it actually takes the save file that you had in Mega Man ZX and brings that character back, because if I had chosen the boy character in ZX and I played as the girl character in ZX Advent, I wonder if they would bring back the boy character from ZX rather than Ale. So I'm pretty grateful about it. I was kind of worried that Ale's story was finished and we wouldn't hear any more from her, so I'm glad that she comes back here. I feel that I didn't really explain the biometals or the models that much. The models themselves are kind of sentient. They can talk, think for themselves, and they just kind of float in the air. They don't really have bodies for themselves, and that's why they like fuse with the character, with the Mega Men, and you kind of act as one, but they can talk to you and they have their own thoughts and opinions. And so in the first one, Mega Man ZX, when Ale would defeat a person who had a model, who had a biometal, I think they're one and the same. I think a model is a biometal. You would obtain that biometal and they would help you. You could transform into that biometal. In this one, the Model A has the ability to copy the data of a person that it just battled. And so you don't obtain the biometals, you just obtain you just like copy the biometals data, and that's how you're able to transform. So, since you have Model A, when you fight, anytime you fight any kind of boss, you can just straight up turn into that boss. Even like not the like non-humanoid characters, you can turn into them, and those guys are called pseudoroids. And so, at first glance, this is a really cool idea. Like any boss that you fight, you can just automatically transform into. Until you realize that these levels aren't really designed for these pseudoroids. A lot of these bosses are actually really big and weighty with a limited movesets, and I feel like these levels just aren't designed for these characters. Some of them move really slow, most of them can't climb up ladders, you can't wall jump or anything like that, and so I want to say for the majority of the game, you're still just playing as your base Model A character, and then very limited times you would turn into these pseudoroids, because in very limited situations, there's certain gates that you can only access using the unlocked pseudoroids. So, like, say there's like a plant character, a plant pseudoroid who can slide up vines, and so I want to say maybe like 2 or 3 times you'll see vines throughout the game, and you're like, okay, now I have to turn into this pseudoroid, but I'm not turning into the plant pseudoroid to fight enemies or anything like that, because for one, it only has like 2 attack moves, and 2, it just moves really, really slowly, no dashes or anything like that. And I feel like that was the case for most of the pseudoroids, and I was pretty worried at first because I want to say for the first fourth or third of the game, you only get pseudoroids, so you don't get any of the traditional humanoid characters that we're more used to. Because you can turn into so many different forms in this game, it's a really welcome addition that they have these tutorials after you obtain the form. Like, you go into the next room after defeating the boss, and your Model A will kind of talk to you and say, oh, this character has this ability, and he can go through these obstacles. And that was one of my complaints about the original Mega Man ZX, is they didn't really explain each form every time you got it. You just kind of had to look it up yourself or figure it out yourself. And then you also have a move list. Think of like a fighting game. When you pause the game, you can see all the moves that the character has and how to pull them off. And so you can just access that on the main menu anytime, which is a really welcome addition. I was kind of complaining in the original Mega Man ZX that each boss has like a weak point, and you had to worry about hitting the weak point because it would damage the biometal and you would have to spend energy crystals to repair the biometal. In this one, they still have weak points, and if you meet certain requirements, like not hitting the weak points, using certain weapons, I didn't do too much looking into this, but you unlock medals. How I understand it are just like achievements that you can look at in the main base. You can go to this little room and you can see all the medals that you earn fighting these bosses. They don't do anything else, although I think if you get like all of them, then you unlock like a secret model. Like I said, I didn't really do too much looking into this. I just beat the main game and came straight here to record it. The whole story is kind of wrapped around this thing called the Game of Destiny, and they kind of talked about it in the original Mega Man ZX, but the Game of Destiny is this whole thing set up by the main antagonist. It's kind of funny. His name is just Albert. His name's Master Albert. Like, that is not an intimidating name at all. And so I feel like they could have come up with something a little more cool or intimidating rather than Albert. But Albert set up this whole plan to create the ultimate Mega Man. So basically the idea is when a Mega Man defeats another Mega Man, you are supposed to obtain their biometal, and you get stronger and stronger until you attain all the biometals and become the ultimate Mega Man. And I guess his plan is to defeat the ultimate Mega Man, and then he himself becomes like the best, the strongest guy ever, a god basically. And so they call this game the Game of Destiny. So most of these other Mega Men are bent on defeating all the other Mega Men to become the ultimate Mega Man. Your character himself is just trying to find out his own story. It's kind of an interesting premise where he just wakes up in a test tube and he has amnesia or whatever. He can't remember anything. And so he's really just trying to uncover the hidden truth behind his past, whereas all the other Mega Men are just trying to defeat you to obtain Model A. For most of this game, I wasn't enjoying it as much as all the other games in this whole collection, and I was trying to figure out why, until I finally realized I don't really have a melee weapon, and the whole reason I like these games is to play as Zero. And in Mega Man ZX, you obtain the Model Z pretty quickly. Model Z, I guess so, I talked about this earlier, but the biometals are relics of spirits of the past. So like there's all the models of like the 4 Guardians in Mega Man Zero. You have the Model Z, which is the spirit of Mega Man Zero, and then you have the Model X, which is the spirit of Mega Man X. And so the main character, or the past character from Mega Man ZX, her Ale, she has the Biometal ZX, which is the combination between the two. This sounds really complicated as I'm trying to lay it all out there. And so your character, Gray, he does not have any Biometal Z. He doesn't have the Biometal for Zero yet for a long time. He actually has the Biometal for Model H before that, and H is the biometal, the past spirit of the Guardian Harpuya, and that's the first time you ever get a melee weapon. And that's not until, I want to say, even a little bit after the halfway point of Mega Man ZX Advent. And so I just didn't like playing with the guns, the ranged weapons, the pseudoroids nearly as much as I just want to cruise through as Zero. I just want to play as Zero, and you can't until way later into the game. When you do finally get a melee weapon, the saber actually feels pretty strong again. I was complaining in Mega Man ZX that the saber didn't feel nearly as strong. It felt like it was kind of nerfed to make the Model X abilities a little bit better. In this one, the saber feels strong once again. When you finally do get the Biometal Z, then you can just cruise through and slash people with the saber. It feels like all is right again, like back in the Mega Man Zero games. Missions are back in this game from Mega Man ZX, but they are a little bit better. In this one, you don't have to go to a transporter and accept them before doing them. It's just like a continuation of the story. You just automatically accept and turn in the missions. This game also introduces quests, and they're just kind of like side quests, like optional. You don't have to do them if you don't want to. You obtain these just by talking to friendly NPCs throughout the world, and they will tell you to do various things like go talk to this guy, go collect this, go defeat this many enemies, and they kind of give you some fun rewards, such as energy crystals is like the basic one, but it also introduces items which do pretty significant bonuses throughout the game that persist, like they negate bullets. You can like slash through bullets to repel them. Just those kind of cool little things that you can obtain to if you want to upgrade your guy, which is a really nice addition. It kind of helps you customize your character to your liking, and it does give you incentive to do these side quests. I do wish that the side quests were a little more specific. When you go into your main menu to look at all the quests that you have accepted, it only tells you the person that you talk to get them. So you're gonna have to look online to find out where to go after that if you forget what the character said, or traverse all the way back to the main quest giver and kind of talk to him, and he might give you some hints on where to go. But if you're like way on the other side of the map, you don't want to travel all the way back to the original quest giver to find out what to do. So it's just a lot easier to look it up. I just wish it was a little more specific, like maybe it could say where you got the quest from, but also say what the objective is. This game introduces checkpoints, which I guess are kind of moot with this collection because you have built-in checkpoint system, but it's kind of a cool idea because you can spend I think it's like 100 E-crystals, and then it opens up this checkpoint that you can teleport to using a transporter. So if you know you're going to want to come back to a location, you can unlock the checkpoint system, and then you'll just be able to teleport there whenever you want, which I think is a really cool idea, especially if these collection checkpoints weren't in play. It would be nice to like, okay, I'm right before this hard boss, I might as well unlock this checkpoint because I will probably get a game over and I'll want to come back to it. Of course, like I said, I never really use this because I'm like, well, I'll just use these checkpoints and load to the save point, so I guess that's kind of cheating in a way. I've been doing this system ever since the very beginning Megaman Zero games, so I'm not gonna stop now. I was talking about the Model A just a second ago. One thing that I really don't like is whenever there's a cutscene where Gray is talking to a character, he always reverts back to Model A. So anytime you come across a main boss, you revert back into Model A instead of like your Model ZX that I always wanted to play as because I like playing as Zero. So I'll go into a boss room, turn into Model A, and then I'll have to reform back into Model ZX before I fight the boss. It sounds like a pretty simple thing, but it actually can be pretty annoying because you fight a lot of bosses, and it just is annoying whenever you die to a boss and you're trying again. You always have to make sure to turn back into Model ZX before you fight the boss every time you're attempting to fight him again, unless you're just fine playing as Model A, because it always turns you back into that one. I didn't really explain secret discs last time, but they brought back secret discs similar to Mega Man 03, and these are basically little files that show the artwork of a character. So like say if you fight a boss, you can obtain the secret disc which shows the image of the boss and then just a little bit of detail on them. They have a couple other cool secret discs hidden throughout the level, things like the original Mega Man box art was a really fun unlock. Just fun little things like that. This time around, in Mega Man 03, this is how you would obtain the equipable items. This is how you would obtain Cyber Elves, but this game does not have the Cyber Elves, and you get the equipable items through side quests, so it's just more information, just fun little things to look at. Think of like a collection you would see, like box art, that kind of stuff. This game feels a lot bigger than all of the other games. Like at first, for some reason, it just seemed to drag on a little bit too long, and I guess you could chalk this up to fatigue being the last game of a collection that I'm playing through, but it just seems like there's a lot more bosses. You have to fight all the Pseudoroids, all of the different Mega Men. The game just keeps dragging on and on. I think it would be a fine game as like a standalone game that you would buy, but as part of a collection, it might be a little bit too overbearing. I feel like the traditional Mega Man format might be the best for this kind of game, where you go through the 8 levels, you fight the boss at the end of each level, and then you go through the final gauntlet where you fight all 8 bosses in a row. I like that a lot. I think I like that system a lot better than this one, where you're just traveling all over the place. This halfway kind of Metroidvania doesn't really work for me. If it was between this half Metroidvania or a traditional Mega Man level selection, I think I would actually prefer the traditional Mega Man selection compared to this. Although I think you would have to sacrifice the more in-depth story if you were to do a traditional mission select, because the story really does build up upon itself. Like every time you defeat a main boss, your Biometal Model A would obtain more information about your back history. You get this little scene where he's learning more and more about Gray's past. So I feel like you would have to sacrifice that a little bit if you went back to the traditional mission select. I feel like I might just be getting a little bit burnt out. I think that's what I'll chalk it up to. I think overall I wasn't as crazy about this one as the first Mega Man ZX. I just really miss my melee weapons. I don't like using ranged weapons nearly as much as the cool Z-Saber, and since you don't get that until way farther into the game, I just, like I said, I just feel like it was a bit too long. I think I will give this game a 4 out of 5, which is still a great game. It's just not quite as good as Mega Man ZX, in my opinion. Well, guys, that should be it for me. Let me know if you have any questions or comments about the Mega Man Zero or ZX Legacy Collection. Overall, I have to say this is a really, really cool collection, and since you can find it for around $20, I think you get a really nice bang for your buck here. A lot of gameplay time, especially if you love the Zero combat. It's just a fun collection, and I'm really happy that I got it for Christmas. But I would be lying if I said that I was not really excited to finally move on from this and maybe play something else for a change. I'll talk to you later. Bye!